Dr. Steve Anton, it's awesome to have you with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to chat about one of my absolute favorite plants. It's a root. It's something that grows throughout Asia, and that's turmeric. It's also something that you're very passionate about. And I know with the research that you've done over your incredible career thus far, around metabolism and really how different plant extracts, we've been working together for almost a decade, how different plant extracts affect us in different ways. I thought it would be great to talk to you a little bit about curcumin, turmeric, the research that you have going on, and so forth.
Sure. It's one of my favorite exciting new compounds. Really, I shouldn't say new. It's new in the field of aging because what got me interested in it was actually the research that had been done in middle age and younger adults showing how effective it was in reducing levels of inflammation in the blood. I think a lot of people have heard about curcumin. And so what I wanted to do was see, well, what do we know about its effects in older adults? And at the time we looked in the literature, there hadn't been any studies that had specifically looked at curcumin for reducing levels of inflammation in older adults. And because it was so promising, the effects in middle age and younger adults, I put together a grant, which was funded. And we're now in almost completed the study, looking to see if supplementing with curcumin can both reduce levels of inflammation and improve physical and cognitive function in our population of adults 65 years and older.
Oh, that's so interesting. So when you talk about reducing inflammation and then improving cognitive function, how do the two interplay with turmeric, with curcumin?
That's a really good question. Well, what we know is with aging, there's unfortunately increased levels of inflammation, not only in the body, but also in the brain, and that's called neuroinflammation. And curcumin is one of the few compounds that I know of that can cross the blood-brain barrier
Right.
and actually reduce levels of inflammation in both the body and the brain. And by doing so, can potentially enhance cognitive function as well as physical function. So curcumin is one of the few, if not the only compounds I know that has the capability of crossing the blood-brain barrier and thereby affecting inflammation not only in the body, but also in the brain. And more research is coming out showing how important neuroinflammation is to our brain function. Specifically, the higher the amount of neuroinflammation, the more of a negative impact it can have on our brain function. So if there's a compound that can cross the blood-brain barrier and reduce that level of inflammation, we really believe that it could influence positively cognitive functioning. I think it's fascinating that this has been a root that's been consumed for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It stood the test of time.
Yes.
Clearly, there's something valuable within that root that the individuals in India and other cultures just intuitively know or can feel, which is why I think they consume it. From what I know, the curcumin is about 3% of the turmeric. So you get a small percentage of curcumin within the turmeric root. And so by consuming about 2,000 milligrams per day of turmeric, you're getting about 60 milligrams of curcumin.
Got it.
Now, in our study, we're testing 1,000 milligrams per day, divided into two doses. So 500 milligrams with breakfast and 500 milligrams with dinner. And that dose was taken based on previous research studies. And so we think that's an effective dose to really get into the body and brain.
What I love so much is how you're absolutely on the cutting edge of where all the research is sort of coming in on these particular topics, while at the same time actually doing the research. So I think it's like a really interesting marriage. And when we think about turmeric, curcumin, there are thousands of studies that have been done on it over the years. And it doesn't seem like that research is slowing down. It's just continuing to grow.
I would agree. The research is growing and more research. And what I brought you is just the result of a couple systematic reviews that shows curcumin, to my surprise, maybe in some ways affected not just your inflammation levels, but your metabolic function. And I say that surprisingly because I didn't think it would have such a positive effect on blood glucose, triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, but it seems to have a big impact on our metabolism because it was known for its effect on inflammation and on cognitive function, but now it seems to have this broad systemic effect. So I think it's really a really remarkable compound when you think about it.
You've done so much research and work from when you were at the Pennington Institute, your postdoc work around metabolism and around how the body metabolizes a variety of different things, right? Not just energy metabolism, but like a whole body metabolism. And tell us how you got surprised and interested in how turmeric curcumin affects metabolism and which metabolisms.
Well, I guess what I should say is that it was interesting to me as I was reviewing the literature that recent reviews show that it impacts our fat metabolizing hormone adiponectin. And so it seems to enhance our ability to utilize fats. It also seems to reduce blood glucose levels based on these recent reviews. And then in addition, influence HDL cholesterol, raise HDL cholesterol. So from my standpoint, these are all very positive things metabolically. And that was just a quick review in what's called PubMed, which is a search engine that we utilize as researchers to find recent studies. And so I was fascinated to see that it didn't just affect levels of inflammation, but also had a whole body metabolic benefit.
It's remarkable. Tell us a little bit about these reviews and what a review is, a meta-analysis, or tell us a little bit so that people have an idea.
Sure. As a researcher, I'll conduct a study at a university, and that would be a single study. Usually it takes over a year, sometimes 2 to 3 years to conduct a study where you recruit participants, you enroll them, you give them a particular dose of curcumin, and then you follow and see what happens in terms of whatever outcome you're looking at. But what a review is it's a summary of multiple studies conducted at multiple different institutes around the country, usually, sometimes around the world. And they're so powerful because they aggregate the results of many studies. And so one single study can't influence the results too much. And so when you look at the results of many studies put together, you can have a lot of confidence, a lot more confidence anyway, that the effect you're seeing is a real effect and not just a effect of somebody in Florida or somebody in California. But this is many participants across many different institutes, across many different research labs showing a particular effect.
So we're at the University of Florida. I called you up yesterday and said, Dr. Anton, would it be okay if you would come and chat with us about curcumin and turmeric? The research that you're doing, the reviews that you have are so powerful. I really wanted to share that with so many people. And you came over from the Aging Institute. Thank you for making the time today.
Sure.
If you were to leave us just with a couple of thoughts around curcumin and where you're most excited about it going into the future, just so that we can get into your brain a little bit.
I'm most excited by the potential of it to influence our brain function, because the brain controls so many vital functions in our body. And if we can keep our brain healthy as we age, we can keep our body healthy as we age. And again, curcumin is one of the few compounds I know that has lipophilic properties, means it can cross the blood-brain barrier and thereby potentially really enhance our cognitive function and help us stay active and mobile throughout our whole life.
It's awesome. So there was a bunch of noise here. We're at the Innovation Hub at the University of Florida, but your points are awesome. I can't wait to follow up with you more and understand more of the work that you're doing around this incredible molecule. And thank you for sharing. Everybody that watches this has the opportunity to learn and grow and take this information for their own health. It's such a simple ingredient to incorporate into our lives. If it's what we're cooking with, truly we can't get the levels of curcumin that you're talking about, but there are so many other compounds, and then taking it in a supplement form. I like to add it into like a golden milk before I go to bed at night. But those two 500 milligram dosages are easy to do.
I think so. And that's what we're going to find out the effect of this particular combination in the very near future. And I'll look forward to sharing those results with the world.